From an injury standpoint, some guys that were affected by Saturday's game first. Brooks Ellis. Brooks has got a pretty significant bone bruise on the knee there. There is an outside chance for a quick recovery, but it looks like something that's going to keep him out for a little bit. So obviously Josh Williams will step into that role. Also, Dante Carr has been a Mike linebacker for us before, as well as Braylon Mitchell. So be a bunch of different guys repping into that spot this week. Excited to see those guys respond to the situation. Josh has really been a guy that has been a pure blessing in our program to kind of get him the way we did. Junior college kid that had been a full qualifier out of high school and just grew very, very well in his first year of college. We got him here. We actually trimmed about 10 pounds off him now and is playing extremely well. So excited to get him into the mix. Corliss Marshall took that shot over there on the sideline. He's pretty sore, but we'll see where he's at as the week goes along. Other than that, all the guys that got a little banged and bruised should be with us. I am going to back off a little bit this week in practice just because we've had a couple tough back-to-back games and playing very, very physical. Really in all phases of the game. I knew it was a physical game, but then when I watched the film yesterday, it just obviously reinforced in my mind once again how physical our guys are, the pride that they play that with, and really shows up all over the place, offense, defense, and special teams. So that's exciting, but on the same account, you got to be very, very smart about what we're doing. We don't recognize guys for any special awards after a loss. So obviously we didn't have any MVPs, which is disappointing, but also on the same account it reinforces how much we want to win and lets another strategy kind of play into their mind about you only recognize success, and hopefully that will come about this week. This week to play Georgia, obviously a little bit of question at tailback. Whoever's going to be in there, the Chubb kid is a phenomenal football player. They did some very, very good things against Missouri, didn't miss a beat. So exciting, but another great challenge for us. I think really cool for us to go over to Little Rock this week. Got a lot of guys that hail from not only Little Rock itself, but that area of our state, and allows for a different fan base to come and watch our games, a different in a good way. Just some people that don't necessarily get over to Fayetteville for games. But in addition to that, what's been awesome is just the recruiting. Obviously, the way we've played this year has opened some eyes and allowed guys to get interested in, because of the location of Little Rock, there's a whole new source of recruits that will be able to come to that game, which is a really big part of the advantage of playing over there. So excited about that, and we'll just keep moving forward. With that, open up for questions. No, I think the negative effect comes from those that don't live in our program. I get it. I totally understand the question. I was actually talking with a person in our profession who shares the same title of I, that kind of just made reference to, man, it's impressive to watch your guys keep coming, the way that they did. I read a text to our guys from Charlie Partridge, who obviously is a head coach now, and sat back. They had a bye week and watched our team play, and it was very complimentary. I think that's the thing that maybe from the outside world looking in, you get amazed at, but I'm not concerned in the least bit as a head coach.
Did that McFain get hurt? Because I didn't see him come out in the second half, and then Henson kicked off. Did McFain get hurt?
No, he was out there the whole time. Yep.
Braylon Mitchell, just how's he responded to being a guy that played a lot last year, then didn't, and then kind of got a shot?
Yeah, he played great on Saturday. Obviously there's a few things that he can correct, but I thought Saturday's performance to jump in there and to play the way he did, he's been a bright spot for us really ever since fall camp. He's just handled the moment very, very well. He's another kid that's from Little Rock. Excited to let him get a chance because of what Georgia does. He'll be involved in the game plan, and just some of the teams that we've played, we didn't play with the Sam linebacker on the field, and that obviously removed him. And I think because we're one of the great things I think we got going right now in our program more than anything is communication. The failures that I've seen in life, both on and off the field, are usually a lack of communication. I just, constantly reward our staff, talk to our players about whatever the scenario is. Let's just talk about it so everybody understands where we're coming from. And we were very upfront and honest with Braylon and really Dante Carr, another senior in our program, and Randy Ramsey at that Sam linebacker spot. Just let them know when they're in the plan, and they've been able to play very well.
Chubby hadn't played much, and then with Gurley out, Marshall carries 38 times. What do you think of a freshman doing?
Very good, very talented. I remember in the recruiting process his name, and the thing that's engaging, or when you're watching a film, is he seems to get a little bit stronger as the game wears on. He's a guy that reads things very, very well. He breaks tackles. He's explosive. Understands what they're asking him to do. They have a package there at Georgia that obviously was fitting Gurley very, very well and fits him very well as well.
Brett, the SEC office came out today and issued a statement
Yeah.
about the end of the game clock. What's the protocol? Do you get notification or what happens?
I give a lot of credit to Steve Shaw, as is the case at everything in this league. The SEC handles it as well as anything I've ever witnessed. I called Steve basically Saturday night after the game, after I got done with my radio show or my TV show taping that. On the drive home, called Steve, expressed some concerns that I had, and that's when he kind of informed me that I was in the right, that I knew that there was a failure there at the end of the game to pursue the way that we should have. I tried to communicate that to the officials because I knew it could go upstairs. I knew we could get a replay and make the situation right, but they kind of scurried off the field very quickly. So the best situation out of a situation like that is this, that we all learn. As coaches, we learn. Players, we learn. As officials, we learn. And I think it's a great indicator of why this league is so special.
How tough is it, though, to know that mistake was made and you didn't get a chance to at least have one or two more plays?
Yeah, it's frustrating, but again, you can't. I can't worry about things that I can't control. I can control what we do, and obviously the SEC is controlling this situation very well. The head ref is a very well-decorated guy that's been in this league for a long time, been in this profession a long time, and I know it wasn't done intentionally or on purpose. But in every game, there's a few things that always come up. I was very frustrated in the first quarter when we couldn't get a ball in. We didn't get a dry ball in for that field goal opportunity, and I made my point, and it got corrected from that point forward. But my only issue was it didn't happen until after that came across, and however that needed to get relayed to the officials, which happened basically from that possession forward. We had a dry ball the whole time. So we all learn. I always tell our players, hey, on Saturday, players play, coaches coach, and officials officiate, and that's obviously taking place.
What was the long discussion at the start of the second half?
That's a great question. That was nothing. I wasn't. What happened is there's a conference rule that if you lose communication with your headsets, that you if one sideline's down, all sidelines are down. So we actually lost communication between our sideline to the press box. It was the first time that's happened in my tenure here as a head coach. It's happened on the other sideline. We had to take our headsets off one time, and then we were having a little bit with the whole thing with the SEC network. It really jacked up our sideline communication. There was a lot of buzzing early in the games, and this was the biggest venue, the most media there, and all of that stuff adds to that frequency. So the athletic department was kind enough to purchase us new gear or new equipment before the season started, but we didn't have any issues in the first half. But when we started the second half, I could not get defensive communication from the sideline, from the press box to the sideline, and I told them that before the opening kickoff. I was aware of the rule, so I communicated to our sideline official that that we don't have full use of our headsets, and so then he came over and we started a dialogue there, and I was trying to relay the information to him, and it was kind of going in and out, I basically we were about within the hair of a chin of going completely without headsets, and then all of a sudden they got it working back on. So kudos to our people involved there to get it back to where it was, because otherwise it was going back to old school football, everything from the sidelines.
Can you speak to his job?
Alex really struggled to get the sync after
Mm-hmm.
in the first quarter. And I know we talk about his bad days, bad Alex days, but I don't know if you're disappointed, but how important is it for him to eliminate those days?
Yeah, Alex had been extremely good. He's and still to this day, he's been great all year in the classroom. He had a bad stretch there, and when that shows up, it's bad for everybody. And he by far probably had his worst performance on Saturday, and it was almost kind of like one of those situations where you see it coming. As a head coach, I knew it was coming. I actually brought him in Saturday when we got to the stadium into my locker room and expressed where he's at and why things were going to happen. And the good news is, I think from Saturday moving forward, yesterday he was awesome. Talked to a lot of people in his life that are trying to help him through these situations, and he's been very, very positive since that point. So the whole thing we just got to do is growth. He hasn't done anything wrong. A lot of people try to infer something out of it. And obviously there's a
big article written today in a major newspaper about things go wrong at different places. The kid needs to learn to be on time. I want him to have success after he leaves here. One of my greatest joys in life is watching our guys have success beyond here, obviously in the real world, but when somebody asks, is it any surprise what J.J. Watt does now? It's what we did when we had him. Is there any surprise to Monty Ball, Russell Wilson, James White, Travis Frederick, Peter, all those guys? It's not a surprise because we held them to a standard that set them up for success in life, and that's until the kids see that full scale here, they're going to continue to stub their toe, and hopefully this one lesson will put them over the top because we're a better team with them in there.
Just to clarify, did he know he was going to miss the first quarter?
No, he knew that he was being limited in playing time. I kind of wanted to see where we're at. I knew he had missed the workout on Friday. I was on the road and recruiting and doing everything, and then the Thursday before, he missed another AM workout on the Thursday right before our game. Obviously 2 days before the game. I didn't find out about it until mid-morning, when Ben came and told me. So that's when I made the decision. I didn't want to throw off anybody else. We actually let some players know that we're at that position, so they weren't going to be shocked by it. But I waited till Saturday morning so that he prepared himself in the right way.
So he missed the workouts, but he wasn't late. He missed them.
Yep.
They were lifting?
Yep. Well, the Friday of our bye week, what we did is we practiced Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and our kids knew all along because, during the bye week, I like to give guys a chance if they can go home, do whatever. They knew they were going to have an early morning, Friday morning workout. We had a 5 a.m. workout with our developmental guys. Everybody was at that. And then we had a 6 a.m. workout with our travel roster, and that was the one that he missed and failed to show for the entire day. And then the following week was on a Thursday. We have some voluntary left times that they specifically set the times themselves, and he had set that and been at every Thursday morning workout for the entire season all the way up till that day.
What did he just forget, or what did
Yeah, he had a big test at 11 o'clock, and he was actually in our academic center at 8 a.m., but all you got to do is communicate, and then everybody else is going to be all right.
Rob Smith and just the job he's done.
Well, I think Rob would be the first to tell you that our defense in general, I think, has played well because the 4 coaches involved. I think Rob brought to the table a certain set of values and thoughts and ideas to blend that with Clay and his experiences at TCU and where he's been everywhere else. Randy obviously molded a little bit of what we had from a year ago to now. I think Rory's done an outstanding job up front, building some confidence in those guys. Those 4 guys together. After the Auburn game, we kind of had a little come to Jesus meeting with all of us in the room that we all need to kind of have input, all need to have thoughts on where it's going. But I think the biggest addition to our ability to just do a lot of prep on our opponents. Our guys learn very, very well. Our coaches are very intelligent. I think we had 3 keys last week. Our number 2 goal was to disrupt number 9, to take him away from the game plan. And I believe he didn't catch a ball until his 6th attempt. Caught 2 balls on the day for 22 yards. The guy was a front-loading or front runner for Heisman conversation, and to take that away, I think, really had a big effect on the game. And then as effectively as we tackled was another big factor in this success.
You mentioned the coaches, but it's a lot of the same personnel, some new guys mixed in.
Yeah.
Just the difference from last year.
Yeah, I kind of made a point yesterday. I told our kids a story of related it to a story I heard a long time about a carpenter, and it's a story of how every day you build your resume, you build your house, and you don't know it until it's done, until it's reached. And I keep telling our players every day what you put on film, you're building the resume of who you are, what you are. And I just look at a guy like Tevin Mitchell, where he's playing today compared to a year ago. He's like a different person. I should have switched him to number 63. I mean, he's a completely different player. Jared Collins is an unbelievably changed player. In the back end in particular, it's very, very common. But number 15, Andre Tolliver, has had a big impact on his program as any player as I've been involved in my coaching career, for the way he's changed, the way we play in the back end. Alan Turner's continued to move forward. Martrell Spate is like unbelievable what he's doing. So there's a lot of different players at different positions. Tywan Johnson was never in our playing rotation, and now he's a guy that's being counted on up front to do a lot of really good things. So just the dynamic that's changed defensively from knowledge, power, confidence, swag, whatever you want to call it, the results are very, very clear.
Not that you weren't emotional last year, but the reaction after the game the other night, is that more about how close you see this group being and the improvement they've made?
Yeah, a little bit of everything. I think as a head coach, you carry the weight of the world, which I love. I signed up for it. I do it. I do think that because you get around your players, you're just around them that much more. You know their roster. You know their pain. I told them yesterday in our team meeting that, as a head coach, I try to provide everything I can for them, whether it be gear, equipment. These facilities are unbelievable, and I don't provide it. I guess I work with administration, but we do things we travel in a first-class manner. We're not excessive, but we do it the right way, and there's a lot of things that I can control, and there's two things that on Saturday night I wish I could take away, or do for them, and one is to take away the pain. But on the same account, I'm glad they suffer because I know they care, and I don't know if that's always been here across the board since my arrival. And the second thing I wish I could do, and I meant it with guarded communication, is that I wish I could give them a win. But on the same account, I'm glad I can't, because if you give somebody something they haven't earned, it usually doesn't mean much in time. And we did a lot of really good things, but we did enough to take it away from us. Just don't lose sight of what's in front of you. Think big picture. It's not necessarily the win. It's the compound effect of what you've been doing and what you've been building to get that win. That's really what everybody's seeking. I don't think one more addition to the win column is going to make us feel any different. It's the affirmation of what you do and what you preach and what you execute daily is going to give you success beyond maybe just that one win.
So with what all Georgia was going through with Gurley being out, how impressed were you that they went to Missouri and won 34-0?
I think it's a great sign of a great coach. Coach Richt, I don't know him personally all that well, but I've known him. He's been a head coach there for a long time, and knew of his even just before he became the head coach, of his success in his coaching career. He's an unbelievably Christian-oriented man. He's been able to. I know when you recruit against Georgia, you gotta do things the right way, because he handles the guys in a certain way. He's persevered through a lot. I know the road got bumpy, and now he's come back stronger than ever. And to see what I saw on film on Sunday, I didn't get to watch much Saturday just because we're involved in our own deal. But Sunday, I wasn't surprised at what I saw on film.
You mentioned number 6'3". What did you think of
You know what? There was so many times where the old guy would have done something. I actually sent in a play, 2 plays, because he got rocked pretty hard. Once with an uppercut and once with a side cut. That I just, to me, there's no place for that in our game. And I thought on the one that got offsetting, I just didn't think that he had done much to get that offsetting call against him. So I think there's still some repercussions of what he's been. But on the same account, I saw a very nice change in what he did repeatedly throughout the course of the game to control his emotions, and I think it's a great sign of things to come.
It looked like Trey Flowers and Darius, the 2 Alabama kids, were playing at
Yeah.
different level. And how's Sideline doing?
Yeah, that's a great point, Tom. I think that one, I'm going to add another one in. Mike Winston Michael played really hard. And he's so we have 3 Alabama guys on our roster, and all 3 of them played D-line, and all 3 of them played really hard, played really well. Darius should be no problem. Sunday, I popped in the weight room, and he was in there bouncing off the walls, assuring me that he was going to be just fine. His mom and dad were there at the game, and that kid, I don't know if there's a young man that has grown as much in our program as he has since I've been here, from thinking about quitting one day to giving up football to being where he is today. And the kind of player that he could be in this league is really, really kind of special. So it was fun to see him play. I wish I could have gave him that win. I know he was very emotional after the game.
You snuck Winston and Flowers in there on that.
Yeah, it didn't work real well. We thought they'd be a decoy, but they weren't decoyed. But yeah, Trey and Darius and then also Mike, we've kind of used them all year long in special scenarios, red zone, goal line. It's something we used to do with J.J. Watt. All of them are bigger defensive, more athletic defensive linemen. I think they just bring a little something down on the goal line that's kind of fun to watch. So we bring in those offensive linemen
to block defensive field goals. So that's the trade-off as we bring some D linemen into O linemen situations on the goal line.
You predicted A.J. Durham would have success.
Yeah.
Anything about what he's done surprised you?
My corn-fed guy, it isn't. I wish he would have. Well, I'm glad he didn't take up my offer to come to Wisconsin, because I wouldn't have him now. But when I offered him out of high school, I told him and his dad, and I love his dad, his mom, Kelly and John are great friends, and I just said, he finally is at the position that probably is what is intended for him. He just literally every day you see him go forward. I had no idea. I knew he scored, but there was so much pandemonium going on that I didn't get a chance to see the end of it until later that night in a highlight, and then Sunday I saw it on film, and he was not going to be denied once he caught that ball, and then he's outrunning Alabama DBs. I mean, he probably made himself a nice little coin package on that play right there, because now, and he really, I think, amped up his intensity level too. He'd kind of been a quarterback playing tight end up until that point. No offense to former quarterbacks, but he kind of got a little down and dirty on Saturday and played with a little intensity that I think they needed to see him play with.
What did you see offensively in the
Fourth quarter. I saw drives that didn't get going, drives that stalled out. It's kind of been a continuing theme for us, unfortunately, in SEC play, and it's something that I'm really began to hone in and be aware of last week, and tried to make certain adjustments. But it's something that I've challenged our offensive staff with, and our players. Obviously, the biggest failure for us overall is to not put points on the board in the fourth quarter, and to win close games. That's exactly what we're going to have to do.
How much is the running game, though?
What's that?
The running game, just not being able to get that going.
A little bit. I think, what I've learned over the test of time is, you have to look at your pitch count. You have to look at the number of. I learned this one early on in my head coaching career at Wisconsin. I was a defensive lineman that wanted to play every snap, so I kind of used to enforce that same mentality. And for the bigger guys, I think once you get past 240, little guys can play all day, and it's just in a certain way of doing things. But you get above that 240 mark, and all of a sudden you start getting over that 40th, 50th rep, you begin to wear down. Even our better players played better when we limited their reps to 40 to 60 plays. You start getting to 60 and above, now you're getting in that never land, and you're worn down. And so depth is a big deal. Frank Ragnow not playing that game, that just makes our center play every game. Because we were doing that, we had to have Charpentier rep at guard, which meant we couldn't rep and sub our guards the way that we wanted to, because he'd been working at center. And then when we take away that means Denver Kirkland couldn't work at left tackle and right tackle, which if we had a situation pop up with Cameron at playing tight end, that means that Denver was going to play at both tackle spots, but he didn't get any reps doing that, so we couldn't sub him in and keep our guards fresh. So until we get another recruiting class and another year of development in our program, like Brian Wallace is going to be a freak. I mean, it's what he's going to be, but he's not ready to play here yet. So when we get him in the lineup next year, as well as the guys we're recruiting, we're going to be that much better.
The receivers kind of seem to struggle with separation there.
Yeah.
Especially in the second half. How much is that on them to get more open? How much can you guys do to?
Well, three things come into it. Obviously, them. What you're talking about, our wide receivers. I thought Demetrius to get back in and have that big catch early was huge. Our tight ends caught the ball extremely well. Keon continues to play at a high level, but we do need more production out of our X, which is Demetrius and Cody Hollister, and we got to work to continue to make them better. But to give credit to Alabama, they're getting a lot of pressure up in our face. They went to some coverage. They went to playing some four-man rush with 7 guys playing zone coverage and passing off very, very well. So there's a little bit of us, a little bit of them, and a little bit of scheme.
Has Brandon ever handled the blitz pressure maybe as well as he did?
I thought that was a highlight. But he'd be the first to tell you he'd like to have a couple of those throws back. The very first throw, again, it was a little bit of that first quarter where they weren't letting us. We go no huddle for a reason. First off, obviously, it's what I believe in, but the advantage of playing no huddle is when you're playing in a wet weather game, you can get a ball in every play. We don't snap the ball very often without 15 seconds with 15 seconds remaining on the clock. So it was very frustrating, and that one would cause the ball to waffle on that first fire pass. And then I think that kind of directly affected his throw to, Cody. If it's in front of him, it's going to be a walk into the end zone. But, he kind of babied that ball in there. It was a little bit behind him, which caused him to turn around, which allowed the defender to get there. It's amazing. We left 11 points on the field. We left those 7 points with a fumble. We left the PAT block and obviously the mishandled snap. And, I mean, that's 11 points in a game that's decided by one. I don't know, whatever you want to say it. A&M, we leave, the 7 with a probable of 14 points being left on the board, plus a field goal. That's 17 points in an overtime game. That's what gets me excited. I'm pissed, yes, but I'm also very excited because of the growth that we've had, and I know what we're going to be able to do.
So that was a wet ball. Y'all had gone quick on the play that Walker almost.
No, we didn't go quick. That's my point. I can't remember on that exact play, but the play before we didn't. Remember Cody caught the one on the right side right before it, and we kind of went back to the same play, to the other side of the field. And as a quarterback, that kind of begins to. It's the advantage of playing in our type of system is you should have a dry ball on every play.
I was watching that on the Cody Walker,
Mm-hmm.
where he almost scored. I know the ball wasn't right where he wanted it to be, but when he was putting it away, it was actually
Switching hands?
Yeah, it wasn't a defender.
No, it was all self-imposed.
I'm wondering, they made a big deal out of those gloves,
Yeah.
and on the high snap, he wasn't able to handle it. Are you sold on those gloves?
Well, I'm assuming that you mean the black gloves, the ones that are the dry fit things. I don't know what Cody had on. I don't know what our snapper. We left it totally up to them. The kids that when we got those gloves were like amazed by them and what they were doing. The snap was obviously very high. I mean, we still want to get it down and everything goes into it. What I did like about that situation, which you see often, is when it does go bad, we don't want one bad to turn into two bads. I mean, he could have fumbled the ball around. They could have scooped and scored. The thing about PAT field goal operation, anytime you have a bad snap or a blocked field goal or PAT, all of their guys are going that way and all your guys are going that way. So I wasn't happy, but I was glad that didn't turn into 7 points because I knew our defense was going to play their tail off. I didn't want to give them anything. And that's the only thing that came out of it. And then Cody's, I don't even know it was really the glove. He was transferring the ball from the right hand to the left hand, which you drill on, work on all the time to get it away. Really Alex's fumble was a run play to our right, and he had the ball in his left hand, and that guy came in and hit the snot out of it. If the ball's in his right hand, it's a non-play. It's a non-factor. So that was frustrating. I'd say the next most frustrating play was, and I know you guys may have alluded to it, and I've watched myself on film 20 times. I've watched that play trying to get that timeout called. They went from 11 personnel to 22, and they went right to the line of scrimmage, and the ref did a tee, but he held it just for a split second. We tried to get our guys in place, but they weren't in place, off of the quick snap, and they released it. And I asked for clarification, why'd you release it? And he said, you guys were in place. And I'm like, we were the Chinese fire drill right there. We're running around, So I'm working on my 40. I'm going to propose that I honestly believe this wholeheartedly. I think because the same thing happened to me at Wisconsin. We were running out of time on the clock, and I knew we were going to not get the playoff in time. So I kind of tried to come down and run down and call a timeout. They never saw me. We got to delay a game, so it backed us up 5. The NFL, you got officials flags, right? You can throw that baby from wherever you want, and they can go back and do it. I'm going to propose either we get flags or give me a whistle, in a situation that I know that I want to call. Let me just start blowing the whistle because I get it. You got guys on my sideline, they're looking in. The guy in the back corner, they always tell me to go for the back judge. Well, guess what? That back judge was locked into the play clock. So it's not the official's fault. They're all locked into what they're supposed. If the guy that never saw me, that would mean his eyes weren't where they're supposed to be. So I think it's just a flaw in our system. It's nobody's fault. I could be faster, I guess. But I saw the TV copy and Lane saying, snap it, snap it, snap it. I mean, so they're trying to go as fast as they can, which ends up being a touchdown go-ahead play.
So this was an extra official? This was Saturday night?
8th could, but they would do the 8th official. He'd be back behind the quarterback, so his back would be to me anyways. So it was the perfect storm. It was the far hash on the 5-yard line, on the opposite end of the field,
It's the same thing that caused me concern when we went into the whole discussion about how much time is enough time to sub. It's not when you're at the 35 or 45-yard line and you're on your near hash. It's when you're on the 4-yard line on the opposite hash away from where your sideline is that you got a problem. And the more we put our head in the sand, the more situations. You know, a team lost a game on Saturday night that, in my opinion, if I get my timeout called there, there's a very good chance we might win that game because of a timeout. You want me to train my entire spring, summer, and winter for a possible timeout? That's not right.
So we've got another game coming up this week.
Yep.
Have the opportunity to go down to Little Rock, which is always a neat people. Can you talk about the atmosphere down there?
You know, I think the great thing, I got a text from 2 guys that are in charge over there that really, Kevin Crass and Gary Smith, that are involved with War Memorial, and they sent me a text Saturday, Sunday just about, you know, hey, they were at the game, they were excited to watch it, but, you know, now this is an opportunity for us to win in the first SEC game on the road against Georgia, which is awesome. I thought the atmosphere there last year was something that was so special, and to now it's down to 1 game a year, and to play a game like Georgia, a team like Georgia and Little Rock should add something. I know we got Justin Moore the night before. My wife's so excited about seeing a Justin Moore concert and being able to go to the game on Saturday, so it should be a good weekend for everybody involved.
Sam was punting some of those kind of like mid-range.
Yeah.
On purpose?
Yeah. You know, he's hitting we wanted to get more of a hang time on certain things. Some of those were pooches, you know, just because he felt going into that one. So on our sideline, when we were going from our left to our right, you know, the ball was carrying just a little bit more that way. And that's when we were going with pooch kicks, which he hits a little bit different.
Not going for 2, because that's kind of a
Yeah.
philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
What's behind that you don't do in the third quarter?
You know, Nate, it's really just statistically, I think coaches are all driven by numbers. And statistically, I remember when I first became a head coach, actually when I was a defensive coordinator, you really wanted to understand when a team was probably going to go for 2. And that's a common coaching thought is, you know, don't play the card until the fourth quarter. And, you know, at different times I see, to me, when you're down by 3 scores or more, you play the card in the third quarter or whenever you want to begin to do it. But when it's a 1-score game, now I will say this, and my thought leaving halftime was this, if they scored first, you know, so if it was 7-6 at the time, if they went up on us 14-6 and we scored, I was going for 2 no matter what. You know, if they were ahead of us, but if we were in a leading position, I was just going to kick the PAT, stay up and play on good defense, and then go for it in the fourth quarter if we had that same situation arise.
Georgia's defense.
Go ahead, Nate. You got one more, Nate?
Yeah, just about the punt return. I mean, is that a concern? Is it the wet ball?
It was. I think it was wet. You know, DJ's been fielding the ball really well for us. I'm in charge of that unit, so we had 4 different looks. We had an 8-man front that really was effective on the very first punt. I wish it was a catchable ball because we had a nice, but they were punting the ball out of bounds. They were punting the ball directionally quite a bit. They were doing certain things before the snap to tell you where the ball was going, and we just weren't able to get our handle on it. We went on 2 occasions where we went 2 returners back there just because I really wanted to get something going, but, you know, they obviously struggled. I think they put 3 balls on the ground on that one unit. We had seen some things on film that might happen, so I just encouraged DJ, hey, if you can get it clean. He fielded the ball really nice a couple times with guys all around him, a nice, you know, fair catch that saved us, but I didn't want to do one of those running up, hold your breath, you know, hope he catches it, and have him fall down. I'd rather just secure the football.
Jason and Clay.
Yeah.
Georgia's defense was able to turn Missouri over. What have you seen?
Yeah, and that game was a little bit turnover oriented on both sides. So I think that Georgia causes a lot of problems. But I would say, as in the case that we kind of talked about with Cody's, even though I'm sure everybody in that stadium thought that Alabama defender hit it, it was a mishandling of ball skills by Cody on that individual play. And I think that happens a lot more than people think. You know, Alex's fumble, again, if he just has the ball, we're running a play to the right. If he just has the ball in the right arm, it's a non-factor. You know, so I think a lot of mishandled opportunities or mishaps in your ball security are self-inflicted.
Last one.
He asked about the punt return. I may not understand it. You were concerned, you didn't want DJ to catch some of those short passes.
Correct. We're running on.
I think two things. First, the chance that usually on a kicking situation you always get a new ball, because nobody goes fast in a kicking situation. I don't care if you're Oregon or Auburn or whoever. Usually everybody wants a dry ball in a kicking situation. So I'm not worried about that. But what was the moisture that it was never really a heavy rainstorm. That was kind of the debate that I was getting in the first quarter was coaches are like, it's not a heavy rain. I'm like, I know it's not a heavy rain, but it's been raining all day, so the ground is wet. My jerseys are wet. Our kids are wet. I was more worried about DJ having a slick surface that he tries to catch the ball and it's slipping out from underneath him, or running to make a difficult catch and he stumbles or slips and all of a sudden the ball's on the ground. I just didn't want to put ourselves in that type of situation.